Let me tell you something. What Thailand's new coalition government means for the cannabis market. Oh, yes. More than a year after Thailand legalized adult use marijuana, the country's new prime minister plans to roll back that law and attempt to end the current glut in the market and bring long-term benefits to the industry. In June of 2022, the Southeast Asian nation became the first in Asia to decriminalize the cannabis plant, allowing it to be grown and consumed freely. Since then, the weed market has turned free-for-all as various businesses entered the sector with little regulatory or consumer guidance to oversee such activity. Thai cities are now home to scores of dispensaries, many of which sell adult use products containing more than the legal amount of 0.2 THC, which is the highest limit allowed. Moreover, not every shop has required licenses, and while the law stipulates that cannabis can only be consumed by individuals aged 20 and above, that's not always enforced. All this has sparked major backlash from locals who have been calling for a tighter legislation. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, Prime Minister Serding, I'm not even going to try to murder his name, but it looks like Sarithra something, who took office last month, said his administration would limit cannabis use to medical purposes only. And in a quote, "The law will need to be rewritten," Sunartha says. "It needs to be rectified. We have that regulated for medical use only," he said. Speaking separately to Reuters, he said drug abuse is a problem for the country and that he disagreed with adult use of cannabis. Many industry experts say they welcome stricter laws because it would help avoid an oversupply in the market and end the misconceptions of cannabis as a recreational drug rather than a medical substance. Traditional Thai medicine has long used cannabis as an ingredient in various remedies for holistic health, and in a quote, "As it stands, the market is oversaturated with cannabis that hasn't undergone proper lab testing," explained Sarat, and president at Greenhead Clinic, a traditional medical clinic in Phuket. Or Phuket, whatever you guys want to call it. This oversupply has resulted in a substantial drop in prices, down by 50 to 60% since we first began. If stricter regulations are implemented, it could potentially restore credibility and control to the industry, he said. Presently, the market is quite chaotic, with many not adhering to any standardized rules. He expects an outright ban on vape products, plus extractions like oil and wax. Cannabis shops may also have to deliver mandatory monthly sales reports to monitor the type of products being sold and to whom, he added. In a quote, he says, "I foresee a crackdown on unlicensed pop-up shops that currently evade taxes and bypass necessary quality controls and registration process," he said. Sounds like Thailand's New York. The industry would like to see clear regulations, and they want it restricted for medical purposes, echoed Sonariak Vomuksikov, an associate professor specializing in plant sciences at Bangkok Chowkugakorn University. Deputy Prime Minister Anton Shivakukarul, leader of the Bhumatai Party and one of Saritha's coalition partners, was a key figure responsible for legalizing adult-use cannabis. At the time, he strongly believed that decriminalizing would benefit the population, but he since called for tighter industry monitoring amid the ongoing debate and over unregulated usage. Ultimately, though, he said he does not wish for the marijuana plant to be reclassified as a drug. And Tuan, who is also the country's health minister, will not let cannabis return to the narcotic list. Shamardatok said there would be a way to compromise the regulators to minimize aggressive feedback among coalition parties. With cannabis now in wide circulation, often for hedonistic purposes, health experts say that's deterred some patients from using it for medical purposes. Currently, many outlets claim to be medical cannabis platforms, but they often prioritize profits rather than patient health, and a number of clinics told CNBC that that diminishes the reputation of the legitimate facilities as the lines blur between clinics and dispensaries. And this line goes on and on and on, but they are talking about rolling back all of the stuff that they have going on in Thailand. They're not going to allow for vape pens or concentrates. And they also want your flower to actually be like hemp flower and have no kick to it. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this? Really silence, huh?
Man, I mean,
Is this surprising?
What do we say?
What do we say? I mean, what are they going to do?
It's,
What are they going to do with all that weed
this
that's being grown out there, though, once they roll back all these protections?
well, what's going to happen is they're just trying to limit the out of the country the import market that's causing all this glut in Thailand, and I can understand that, but the issue is, I think that Thailand's like, it's a tourist hotspot for tourists from all over the globe, people coming from everywhere just to be able to smoke pot. So I think their whole line of sight on this is like what's happening with the tourists coming there. But Thailand's been kind of historically the place that people come to do crazy shit. So I don't know if I don't know kind of what's behind this. It seems like there's more to this story. It might be some kind of political and money wielding behind the scenes that's really driving this. But that's been the issue, is we just don't know what's going to happen with Thailand, Southeast Asia. There's a lot of countries that are just anti-cannabis, but I know that the proliferation of the cannabis has happened. I had a friend that was traveling through Jakarta, and he said, "Hey, you can find cannabis in Malaysia as well." So I see this as kind of just pandering a little bit to the people that want to stop it, and they're just trying to slow it down or just throw up some roadblocks to just say, hey, we're doing something. But from the beginning, they said no concentrates, and I don't think that there's any new information there, but we'll see what happens. So I really don't know what to think about.
Do you think one of the reasons is that they're banning concentrates and vape pens is because most of the hardware for that comes from China?
I don't think so. I think vapes in general, I think are an issue in Thailand, but they have big drug problems in Thailand that they're trying to quell. Cannabis is not a real issue for their society. They have bigger societal issues, but again, it's like when you have foreigners coming to the country to start businesses, things get complicated.
Well, they generally want that because they generally want foreign investment to invest in their company or to invest in their businesses out there. So then that way they're like super productive and can actually hit the market.
Yeah, but
these countries, like Saman says, they are uber conservative. So I don't know why this is a shocker that the market is not behaving in the way that they had hoped, and so they're like, "All right, F it, shut it down."
I'm just basically
surprising.
I'm just basically saying Thailand is basically Asia's New York. All right, they've spilled too much sand all over the beach.
And so now they're like, F it, close it down.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to do that.
Unlike New York, who's letting it run rampant.
They're not going to be able to close it down. That's my point. New York's never going to be able to close it down either.
New York's letting everything run rampant. I mean, New York just does not have their shit together. I think Thailand probably has their shit together more than New York.
You do, really.
Yeah, I think Thailand is going to be able to bring the hammer a lot more than they would in the U.S.
That's because they're not afraid to execute
Our
people.
Constitution and stuff.
That's because they're a monarchy.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they're not afraid to execute people. What do you think about this, Hirsch? You do a lot of work on the regulation side.
Yeah, I mean, I think your comparison to New York is really apt. I would say my takeaways are two things. One, this shows that progress does not happen in one direction. It's not a given. You can liberalize your approach towards cannabis, but then there can be a backlash. And I think, we on this call are all very, pro cannabis, but there's large parts of many societies that aren't. And so the takeaway that I have is that if we want to make the rest of society, comfortable with cannabis, we have to be thoughtful about the way we roll it out. And there's the risk sometimes that if you roll it out in a certain way, it could confirm some of the worst fears and suspicions about cannabis. I think that's true in New York and in Thailand. So that's one thought. But my other thought is what you were saying, Jason, which is you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? Thailand may attempt to sort of control and regulate this, but they won't be able to make cannabis fully illegal again. And so this still represents progress. When you establish that this should be legal, it's really hard to really fully recriminalize it, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah, and like like they're not even able to like really enforce on it as it is now, and so I just man, oh man. But I'll tell you what though, Hirsch, I prefer to roll it up as opposed to rolling it out.
Ha!
I'm with you, bro.
Yes,
I'm with you.
Yes. Gretchen,
Don't encourage him.
yeah, Gretchen got a sigh. As long as I get a sigh out of Gretchen, you know I'm already winning for the day right there.
Hirsch, I was liking you for a second. That's
I
gone.
know, right?
Oh man, you know.